Okay guys, we're going to get started here. So this is a new unit. We are going to leave our polynomials and our solving equations for a little bit. It will come back in other ways that you will see as we go. So I'm going to try these videos linked to YouTube. I really hope that they work. I've tried some different options, but for me this kind of seemed to work the best as far as flexibility goes for what I can show. So again, this is a bit of a trial. We're just kind of seeing what works. So I'm hoping to do a lesson today and tomorrow, and then we're going to take Friday and Monday off as it is the long Easter weekend, and we'll have a new lesson up on next Tuesday. Okay, so there will be a short lesson each day followed by an assignment for you to complete, and then some quizzes as well. But again, if you have any questions at any time, please let me know. Okay, the Pythagorean theorem. So we are using the Pythagorean theorem for finding the lengths of unknown sides. So finding how long a side is. Now, we can only use the Pythagorean theorem if we have this right angle. It only works on right angle triangles. Okay, so you have to see that little box indicating that we have a 90-degree angle. And then some important things when we have our triangle is that we have to label it correctly. So the longest side of the right triangle is called the hypotenuse. And it is the side that is across from this right angle. It comes right across from it. And it is also the longest side, as you can see here. The other two sides, we just call them a leg. So there's two legs to the triangle and one hypotenuse. And we call each of these sides A, B, and C. Now A and B are used for each of the legs of the triangle, and C is used for the hypotenuse. And when we see our Pythagorean theorem as a formula, it states that A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. Okay, so it's really important that you make sure that C is always labeled as the hypotenuse, the longest side. Okay, so let's take a look at some examples of these. The first one says use the Pythagorean theorem to find the missing value. So in this case, the missing value is x here. We notice that it is the hypotenuse. It's right across from the right angle. It's the longest side, so we're going to label it with a C, and we're going to label these ones A and B. Okay, and I'm going to write out our Pythagorean theorem, which says that A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared, and I'm going to sub each of my values in. So I get 6 squared plus 8 squared is equal to, now I don't have a value for this side. This is the side that I'm solving, but I'm going to write it in as x squared because right now x is being used to represent that side. Okay, and we continue to solve down. 6 squared, of course 6 squared means 6 times 6, which gives us 36, plus 8 times 8, which gives us 64, and is equal to x squared. We cannot simplify that. We don't know a value for x yet. And 36 plus 64 gives us 100, equal to x squared. Now we don't want to know what just x squared is equal to. We want to know the actual value for x. So we're going to do the square root of both of these. The square root of the square of a number gives us x, and the square root of 100 gives us 10. Okay, so that is our answer there. We find x to have a value of 10. Okay, moving right along. Our next example here, the triangle's drawn a little bit different, but we still have a right angle. They haven't given us a side for that, so if we put our labels on here, we're going to say that this is A, this is B. Again, A and B could be switched. But this side, this hypotenuse, this longest side must remain as a C. So our formula says that A squared plus B squared is equal to c squared. And we're going to substitute our values in for a and b. So a in this case is equal to 6.4 squared. It doesn't matter that it's a decimal, we're still just substituting it in and squaring it. And b squared is equal to 7.3 squared. And the whole thing is equal to c squared. And we're going to calculate these numbers. Remember that when you're squaring a number, you're multiplying it by itself. You can either use your squared button on your calculator, or you can take 6.4 and multiply it by 6.4. In this case, it gives you 40.96 plus 7.3 squared, which gives you 53.29. And it's equal to c squared. Again, we don't know the value for c, so we're leaving it as a variable. And when we add these two values together, it gives us 94.25 is equal to c squared. And our final step, because we don't want to know what c squared is equal to, we want to know just what c is equal to. We do the square root of both sides, and the square root of 94.25 is equal to 9.7. And it's actually equal to 9.7082439919, but we're going to round it to just one decimal place. And that would be our final answer. If they gave us units in the question, we would put some units on that, but they didn't in this case, so we would just leave it as that. Okay? Our next example, this one, again, we have another right angle triangle. We have our right angle here. This one is a little bit different. It's telling us to solve for the unknown side. In this case, the unknown side is this one over here. We notice that this one is not the hypotenuse this time. So we're going to go ahead and still label our triangle. We're going to say that this is A, and this is B, and this side over here is C. Again, it's our longest side. It's our hypotenuse. It's right across from the right angle. And we're going to set up our Pythagorean Theorem formula, which says that a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, and we'll substitute our values in. Okay, in this case, a, we don't know the value of a, so we're going to leave that as our variable. A squared plus b squared, 8.4 squared, is equal to c squared. In this case, c is 10.9 squared. Okay, we're going to simplify these values. A squared we leave as a squared. 8.4 squared gives us 70.56 is equal to 10.9 squared, which has a value of 118.81. Now, if you remember back from our solving equations unit, we remember that in order to solve for a variable, we want to get that variable all by itself. So we want to move this 70.56 to the other side. When we switch sides, we need to switch signs. So when we move our 70.56 to the other side, we're going to subtract it. So subtract that 118.81 minus 70.56 gives us a value of 48.25. And again, we don't want to know what a squared is equal to. We want to know what just a is equal to. So we need to remember that final step there of doing the square root of that number, which gives us 6.946. We're going to round it to one decimal place, and because that number after the 9 is a 4, we're going to leave this as a 9. Okay, so that would be our final answer for the value of A, for that unknown side. Okay, we'll do one more example. If you feel like you're understanding this, you can go ahead and stop the video and go on to the questions, but if you'd like to have one more, then feel free to keep watching. Okay, so again, we're solving for the unknown side. We're given the hypotenuse right here, so this is side C. And then we don't know this side, but we know this side. Let's just, to make it different than last time, we'll call this side B and this side A. It won't make a difference, but just so you can see it set up differently. Okay, again, our Pythagorean theorem formula states that a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared, and we are going to substitute our values in. In this case, a squared is equal to 7 squared. We don't know the value for b, so we leave it as b squared, and we substitute 24 in for c to give us 24 squared. Okay, and then simplifying that, 7 squared, 7 times 7 is 49, plus b squared is equal to 24 squared, which is equal to 576. Again, in our solving equations, we want to get the variable all by itself, so anything that's around it, we want to move it. When we switch sides, we switch signs. So here we're left with b squared is equal to 576 take away 49. And when we subtract 49 from that, it gives us 527. And again, we don't want to know what b squared is. We want to know, sorry, I just want to check and make sure I did that right. Yeah, we want to know what b is equal to, so we're going to do the square root of both of those to give us b equal to, it comes out to 22.956. Well, I should have wrote it differently. So if we're just rounding to one decimal place, we would actually move that up to 23.0. Okay, so that would be our final answer there. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. You might even remember this from elementary school. I'd like you to go ahead and complete the assignment. There are 4 questions, just like I've done in the examples. 2 where you're finding the hypotenuse and 2 where you're finding one of the unknown sides. So I'd like you to complete that. Tomorrow we'll be doing some word problems with these, and then there will be a quiz that will be assessed. Okay, so hopefully this works. Please, again, message me if you have any questions or have no idea what's going on. I'd love to help you out.